Welcome, welcome, welcome to this edition of I'm Not Crazy, but we are officially at season 2. Family, this is my 1 year anniversary. And to celebrate my 1 year anniversary right, I'm doing a show on It Is So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday. Family, it is hard to let things go. It is hard to quit. I'm going to lean in so you can see it's hard for me to let go of Christmas. I still have my Christmas colors on. It's so hard for many of us to let those Christmas trees go. Today we're doing a deep dive into a conversation that we need. Letting go. We've heard so frequently, winners never quit and quitters never win. And yet we understand that that is not always true. Sometimes we have to let go of that job. Sometimes we have to let go of that relationship. Sometimes we have to let go of that mindset or that philosophy in order for us to move on. I am going to share with you today as you are doing what you need to do, and that is drop in the chat where you are tuning in from and share while we have an all-star cast of amazing ladies who are friends of this show to help us disentangle and pull back on when to let go and how to let go. Do we ghost them entirely? Do we have that tough conversation? Do we send it by email? Do we send it by text? How do we let go? And when do we let go? I have with me today the Dr. Shalitha Jones. Dr. Shalitha Jones is a physician extraordinaire. She is a preventive health queen. She's a hospitalist and a family medicine doc. And she is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. Did I get that right?
You got it. Good
I
morning.
did. Yes. And we also have with us our very good friend, Dr. Sylvia Morris, who is an author, a physician, a Georgetown queen over there, the author of The Game Changer. And she is absolutely a phenomenal prevention health oriented person as well. Now, I know as you see these bright, chipper faces, you think you've heard a little bit of their bios. We must have it together. Of course, I'm the host, Dr. Rhonda Mattox, psychiatrist, triple fellowship trained, board certified psychiatrist. And I know you think we have all of our poop together. And I like, and we love for you to think that. But the truth of the matter is, that is an image. And we sometimes will have struggles with letting go of certain things because we have our reputations to preserve. We have our images to preserve. We have this and that, and we feel like we have to look the part even though we're not feeling the part. So sometimes we stay in scenarios that are not serving us well as it relates to relationships, careers, jobs, what have you. I am glad that I have this group of ladies who have let some things go, who have pivoted, who have changed and found that quitting sometimes is not just for losers, but it is for people who value their time, value their sanity, value their money, value their things. Am I right, ladies?
Amen.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, yes. So as we realize that perseverance is in fact a good thing, but sometimes letting go is equally important, if not more important. So we want to, just be self-aware and reflect. And I'm bringing these ladies on so that they can help give us some insight and perhaps provide resources for how we can let things go. Now, I always want to recognize our tried and true audience who has been hanging in there with me, rocking it for a year. Sharma Janae, I see you in the house. Appreciate you all for coming. And I'm just going to encourage you all right now. You know there are some things that you are struggling to let go or that you struggle to let go. And if you have some strategies that work for you, or if you have your very own questions, please drop them in the chat now. And I'll just go ahead. Now, ladies, you made it through you made it through the holidays. You made it through last year. Were there any societal pressures on you last year to hold on to something that was not serving you? And I'm not telling now, your people may be watching, so I'm not asking you to tell all your business or anything like that. But if there was some pressure to hold on to If you know somebody, no, if you have a friend, if you have a friend that had some societal pressures to hold on to something that was not serving them, how did they handle that? Or what were your recommendations for them as they were at that intersection of, do I stay? Do I go? Do I hold? Do I run?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that I've seen with people is in careers or jobs that are no longer serving them. It is costing them peace, mental health. But of course, it's always the pressure of, well, I have to provide for my family. What am I going to do? Can I really leave this stable environment and try something different? And my advice is always, you have to have faith. God's brought you this far. He is going to take care of you. Pray about it. Listen. And if he tells you to move, it's time to move.
That's good. I like it.
And
Yeah.
definitely with relationships, whether it's family members or friends that you've had for a long time, even intimate partner relationships, sometimes you have to be still.
Mm,
And have I evolved? And are they evolving? And are we evolving together? And those are really tough places to be in because a lot of it is we're married to, well, I've known them forever. So you
mhm,
want to keep them. But it's the
mhm.
whole phrase of reason, season, or lifetime. And sometimes things change.
Yeah. I like, as we're talking about being still, sometimes when you're in a scenario and you feel disrespected or it's uncomfortable, the knee jerk reaction is, I'm out of here. I don't have to take this, that kind of stuff. But when you pause, and for me, one of the things, in my early life, I'm out of here. I don't have to take this. I don't know who you think you're talking to. Da 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 da. I have options. And so it seems like I continued to repeat the same class because I wasn't getting the lesson. But I remember a particular job I was in. And I mean, when I tell you that I was making less by design because I'd taken a pay cut, I had job offers all nearly daily for a lot more, but I was on assignment. And I did not move, though I wanted to, but the lessons that I learned on that particular job have served me so well, and they were expensive lessons to learn. And I dare say, if I hadn't been a remedial learner and kept hopping out the fire, hopping out the fire, hopping out the fire, I might not have had to be there. So sometimes we are running away from scenarios or situations when in fact we are called to stay there, get the lesson, and it will serve you. So I like both of your answers. Um, why do you think it's so hard for us to, even when we know um, that we should stay, and I'll throw in or go, because when you're making the decision to go or stay, and I'm going to say fill in the blank, there is this fear of leaving and the unknown. And then there is this fear of, oh my gosh, if I stay and it's like this forever. And so there's this fear, this anxiety. What are some of the other reasons that it can be so tough to stay or to let go? And you can make it, situational relationship or job or whatever you, but what are some of those reasons do you think?
Yeah, comfort. This is easy. I know what the rules are. I know how things are going to go. And that goes for relationships or work. And I'm like, I just don't have the mental energy at the moment to try and learn someone or something new. So
Yes.
I'm going to sit tight for a moment. And then when spirit says again, okay, girl, it's time to move, then maybe I will have done the additional work getting myself together, whether that's talking with a therapist, whether that's getting your coin right, whatever it is that you need to do so that you can move or see it differently. Perhaps it's an
Mhm.
opportunity to change how you are viewing the situation. And dare I say, figure out what is your role in this. You're not in this alone. You
Yes.
know, those people are not doing stuff to you, right? This is a conversation, you
Yeah.
know. So
I, I love what you said, and Helen, we saw you married to the norms. Yes, we can be married to that, but that whole piece of what is my role in this? So many times when you're talking to your friends, or when you're talking, particularly perhaps in our younger days, when we put the scenario out there, we were the victim, we were being wronged, that woe is us, they were doing this stuff to us. But with a decade or two long perspective, when you look back, you're able to see, ah, this was my role in it. And that's a level of maturity and self-awareness that we don't always have. And so how do you get how do you before I move on, Dr. Jones, anything you want to add to what she just said, because you smiling big like you had.
Well, I think some of it I've noticed is perception, and it's, how other people will perceive you, and more so in relationships, whether it's platonic relationship or intimate relationship. And I think especially as we advance in our career, when Dr. Morris was talking about change, that's a good thing. You want to grow, you want to evolve, but sometimes people want you to stay as they remember you, or as they first met you. And instead of them embracing the change and growing with you, they want to try to make you feel guilty for growing or advancing. And so then it comes, oh, you think you all that now, oh, this. And so, you don't want people to perceive you as, oh, now I think I'm better, so I'm moving on, when that's not it at all. We're supposed to change and grow and evolve, but sometimes the perception of people maybe thinking that we think we're better than them now, or we're leaving because of XYZ, when really it is to better ourselves, especially if something is no longer serving us, if something is hurting us mentally, physically, however, that's the reason that we're leaving. It doesn't have anything to do with, us thinking we're better than somebody, or, oh, my career is here now, so I can't be associated, with people that I used to be associated with.
Oh, that was rich, Dr. Jones. And I will tell you, I certainly agree with that. I can remember very early on, because I had heard this said, oh, they think they're better than us, or oh, they've changed. And we would hear the, oh, they've changed, like that was like a bad thing. But you evolve. Oh, everything evolves unless you're dead. Only dead people don't, only dead things don't change. You're always growing. And so we will sometimes hold on to people. And one thing that I learned, because I remember having a family member in my life that was constantly trying to belittle me, constantly putting me down. And I would keep her there because I said, if I let her go, they're going to say, oh, da 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 da. And then I had this epiphany. They're saying that anyway. And so, if that is the case, and they're saying that anyway, let me at least have my peace in this situation and remove you. You got to make some up to talk about me if we're doing that. And so, we will. But the thing about it is, when you say, you think you're all that, I do, and I think you are as well. You understand what I'm saying? Because I think we are masterpieces. Now, I saw some. Thank you if you're just tuning in. I want you to know that we're talking about, it's so hard to say goodbye. We're talking about letting go, knowing when to let go, understanding that sometimes winners have to understand that you need to pivot, you need to quit, you need to let go and invest your time and your resources wisely. There was a comment that came through just a second ago. The fear of something new, the fear of failure, those types of things can also keep us in that situation longer than what we wanted to. Dr. Morris, do you want to add anything to what she said?
that is so true. But if you continue to stay where you are, how do you know what's possible? You keep doing the same thing over and over again. then you don't know what your next good is, and you
Mhm.
can't embrace it. So yeah,
Mhm.
we're all afraid to fail, but really we fail up. There are all these books that talk about the best lessons I learned were from my failures, and
Absolutely.
that is so true.
Yes. And the piece of it that I think about so often is that if I learned, I didn't fail. The failure is in not learning. The failure is in staying there and not either preparing for better, learning the lesson so that you can make the situation better, or what have you. But if you keep doing the same thing, that is so painful for you. And it's not, there's some pain that propels you forward for purpose. And there's some pain that drains you, that sucks the life out of you and has you suicidal. Okay. And so understanding, distinguishing between, are we holding on for the sake of loyalty, for the sake of longevity? When I hear people say they've been they've been they've been married for 20 years, one of my favorite things is I want to say happily married. And like, if you're married and you were like beating each other up, cursing each other out, throwing your things on the line, I I, I don't give that as much. That doesn't that's not impressive to me. I remember my this lady asked me, I was telling her we were celebrating our anniversary, and it was a milestone anniversary, and she was like, how long have you been happily married? And in my mind, I wanted to say, oh, we're working on 1 year now, but we've been married much longer than that. And I said, so you can, are you purposefully doing things? Because being able to say, I've been married for 40 years, I don't want to be married for 40 years if for 40 years we cussing each other out and clowning. So longevity is not necessarily the goal. Walking your purpose, those kinds of things. How can you distinguish the difference between holding on for holding on's sake, for personal, for pride, for ego, for them to be able to say, the people who thought it wasn't going to work out, not to be able to say, I told you so, versus letting go for personal growth or your mental health? How do you discern the difference?
I think a big part is self reflection. You really have to, like she said, be still, stop and think about both sides of it. If I stay, what does this look like? But if I go, what can
Mhm.
this look like? And
Mhm.
so once we stop and really reflect on whatever it is that we are in, I feel like that'll give us the clarity to know, am I staying because I don't want others to view me a certain way? Am I staying out of obligation? Sometimes we feel obligated to family, to friends, even though it's hurting us, but
Mhm.
we still want to be there for other people, and
Mhm.
we let our feelings and everything kind of fall to the wayside because we keep our superhero capes on, and we're doing this for them. Whereas if we really, really reflect, like that's not serving us to stay in something just because we're concerned about what other people will think about
Yeah.
us or the situation or where we go.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you that superhero cape is nothing more than a weighted blanket. It's a lie, family. It's deception. We walk around with it, but it is a weighted blanket. It's going to not serve you. It's going to weigh you down. It's going to hinder you. You're yeah, absolutely. Dr. Morris, you want to add anything to that or pivot?
Yeah, Dr. Jones, when you talk about that superhero cape, the first thing I thought was it's choking us. And can we just, take it off and be free? And a lot of times we are fearful of moving forward and fearful of change. So if we can get very clear about, well, why am I here?
Mhm.
Why do I stay? How do I envision my life? And
Mhm.
once you write those things down, then it becomes, a lot clearer about, okay, well, how do I need to move? And sometimes we need to engage other people in that,
Mhm.
trusted advisors,
Mhm.
professional help. But oftentimes, that little voice in our heart of hearts, when we're lying down, to go to bed, and you hear that voice, then that's sort of the answer.
Yeah. As one of our audience members said, that fear, and the fear can come from a lot of things. The fear of rejection. I remember a particular place. It was um, more fear of the influence that the person had. The person was a very manipulative person that I had seen badmouth a lot of folks. And so there was this, and I didn't realize what was happening at the time, but there was this sense of, oh my gosh, I don't want to get on this person's bad side because they're going to badmouth me. And sometimes you have to understand that your character will outlive a lie, you know, and um, and do it afraid. Um, do it, but don't impulsively do it. As Dr. Morris said, plan. And I'll throw in pause, pray, plan, and then pursue. Now that was hot off the
I
throne of
like
heaven
that.
because I didn't plan
Yeah.
that. Okay, I don't want to miss that. Pause, pray, plan, and pursue before before you do it, because sometimes we get in our feelings, and our feelings make us want to quit, right? But the information that they're giving us is good, because you do know that sometimes you can be the toxic one. You didn't know. Uh oh. Uh oh. Uh oh. Sometimes, let me look in the camera at myself. Sometimes I can be the toxic one, and I don't even realize that. Let's talk about the role that sometimes pride plays in keeping us places, or causing us to leave places that we really need to be. That we really need to be. We still need to be there, but our pride makes us want to let it go. Mm-hmm.
You say, "Oh, I've been disrespected. They can't disrespect me like that."
Yes. Yes.
Okay, it might be true, and what do I need to learn from this, and how do I sit with this uncomfortable feeling, and then learn from it, so that we can then pursue our next opportunity.
I like that. Learn forward. That's good. Dr. Jones, anything you want to add, or do you want to pivot?
Well, there is something that I wanted to say because we keep talking about the fear of failure. And I think this kind of goes along with that. I think if we're honest with ourselves, sometimes it may be the opposite of it. It's the fear of success that keeps us where we are. So, it's like, oh, what if I fail? But what if I fly? But then with that comes added responsibilities. Now you're more visible, you're out there, you have to stay on top of things. So if we really look at it, are we just scared to fail, or are we afraid to succeed, and what that will actually look like?
Yes. Because that
Yes.
fear, that success, sometimes after you succeed, there is a shedding many times of people that you love, of a lifestyle that you love, of an anonymity that you love as you are succeeding. And oh, that is good. Dr. Sylvia, jump on in there.
Yeah, that is true, because it's like we pray for, I want X. I want things to evolve in this manner. And then when it starts to happen, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This
Mm,
is this is uncomfortable, because as
mhm,
Dr. Jones and you, Dr. Rhonda, had mentioned, we're growing. So
mhm.
there is a certain amount of discomfort in growing and evolving. But that success piece is really true. As the caterpillar morphs into the butterfly, you have to keep, moving out of that encasement, in order so that you can be out and fly, as a butterfly. I like the analogy, but nonetheless, success is it's true. It's true.
Yeah, yeah. I I remember after I was elected to this position that I had um, vehemently opposed being elected to. I I I had this recollection of probably 2 decades earlier, when I had said, when I reach this age, I'm going to be doing this. And I had forgotten all about that because I said it decades ago. And so I was doing it. And the first 2 weeks in that position, it was like I was paralyzed with fear. Oh my God, these people are going to see that I don't have my stuff together. And so for for 2 weeks, I was literally like not answering phone calls, not doing anything because I was afraid. And in that fear, I was thinking about letting it go. Because have you ever, we talk about dropping balls, but have you ever not been dropping balls because all the balls were on the floor and you were on the floor just looking around at the balls? Like you guys probably haven't done that because
That sounds
but
like self-sabotage, but okay, yes.
but I am telling you, it was like for those 2 weeks, I wasn't dropping balls. All the balls were on the floor, and I was just sitting in a puddle of balls looking around saying, what have I got myself into? And really seriously thinking about quitting. And so sometimes we have to understand, when we are thinking about letting go, never let go during. I read this in one of Maxwell's leadership books. It was for players, don't let go during boot camp or spring training when it's really really hard. If you're going to make the choice to let go, try to let go during a time when you are not overwhelmed and sucked dry, because then you will be doing it impulsively. But try to sit still and let go, when you're in a different mindset. And as I said that, I'm going to pivot. When it's time to let go of mindsets, there is a scripture in the Bible that says that a man is to leave, his family and cleave to his wife. And I probably have jacked that scripture up. So if I have family, just drop it in the chat. But I know my husband and I were married for a while. And it was a while before I realized that it wasn't, it may have been the actual people, but it was also the mindsets that each of us had. And so I was shedding, and it was a painful process to shed the mindset that my family had, to shed the mindset that his family had, and to then develop and pursue our own mindset as to how we were going to pursue the world. And so letting go of mindsets that no longer serve you. So much of what we grow up with, the mindsets that we had to have in order to survive, now if we keep those mindsets, they imprison us. And so how do we let go of mindsets? And I have some examples in my mind, but as I've said that, if there's anything that came to your mind or any examples that you want to share as you're talking about how to let go of the mindset, please do.
I think it's just being open to change and understanding that just because I've always done it this way, it doesn't necessarily mean that that is the only way in which to do something. And I have had to be very intentional and self-aware of getting into this is it. This is how we do things, and we're going to move
Mhm.
forward like this. And well, what about the other person in the relationship? How
Mhm.
do they feel about that? They come to it with his own set of ways that things are done, and how do we find a new way in which together we move forward? And a lot
Mhm.
of that is really based in do you know yourself? Do you understand how you communicate? And do you understand how you are sort of viewed, how your actions are viewed or come across in the world? And that takes some time.
And maturity. Um, Before I go on, Patricia Wesley says Dr. Jones mentioned prayer and faith. Dr. Mattox mentioned assignment. I feel that this is priority thinking. You really have to be tuned in with your faith to recognize why God is speaking to you about your situation. God will not reassign your assignment to anyone else. Your assignment is only for you. No one else can do it. And what do you think about? Do you want to add to that, or do you want to pivot and go on to the next thing? But thank you for Patricia for that response. Are there any other? I can't see all of the comments, but this is a really good time to check in with our audience. Is there anything else that we need to highlight Shani Flower says, "Woo, letting go." Shani, yes, honey, go ahead. And if you are just tuning in, know that we are talking about the challenge of letting go. It is so hard to say goodbye to yesterday, and if you don't get what we're talking about right now, go ahead and share this because you're gonna need it for. Look, if you don't need it now, you'll need it for later. So yes, anything else you all want to add before we pivot a little bit more?
I think to what we were just talking about as far as letting go of mindsets, when you come together in relationships and you've made that decision, especially I feel in marriage, I've never been married, but when you decide to make that commitment, I think mutual respect and understanding plays a big part because it is hard to kind of let go of, this is how I was raised. This is how we do it in my family. This is what we do. So to realize this isn't the only way or even the best way to do things, it does take a lot of just respect, understanding, and compromise. I feel like in relationships, whether it's a business relationship, intimate relationship, compromise and just an open mind to know that, maybe this way will work. And even if you just try it, if you try it and that's not for you, you can try other things. You can keep trying. You don't have to try one thing and, oh, that didn't work, let me go back to what I was doing. It's okay to keep trying different things until you figure out what works for you all in that situation.
Oh, excellent point. Excellent point. As you were talking, what came to my mind is sometimes we struggle with letting go of us, letting go of the old you, and we are so afraid of we're afraid of what it means to become the person that we're becoming, and so we will let go of people who are a mirror to us, who hold up a mirror saying you are like this, because if we keep them in our lives, then we are going to have to change, perhaps, or evolve or listen. And the thought of changing at this age of the game, you know, they say you can't teach old dogs new tricks. That's a lie. That is a straight out lie. But old dogs might not want to learn new tricks, but you can teach them some new tricks. And so letting go of who we have been is is can be challenging. And sometimes that's why we're letting go of the job and the person. I remember while I was in med school, after my mom died, I was so depressed. And I thought, and my place looked a hot mess. And so I moved. And then my place looked a hot mess again. And it was, like when you're in your third or fourth year and you're going to different places. And I thought that when I changed positions, that things would change, but I hadn't changed mindsets. And so I was going to these different places and it would all, happen again because I was following me. To put it bluntly. And so I kept following me. And things kept looking the same. When you say, I always get the same guy, why do I always get the same guy? Because you the same you. You using the same bait. My husband is a fisherman. When he wants to catch a certain kind of fish, he uses a certain kind of bait. When he goes deep water fishing, he doesn't use the same bait he uses on shallow water fishing. And so part of the reason you keep getting the same person is because you're the same you. Now, with that in mind, you know what? I felt like that was a revelational moment that we just need to sit with for a second. Anybody want to add to that?
I think you put a nice bow on that. I don't want to, have all my stuff out in the world.
Yeah.
But it's so true about wherever you go, there you are.
There you are.
Until you get very clear about who you are, then you can't change.
Yeah.
And, I probably had 4 or 5 jobs over the course of a decade. And again, wherever I went, there I was. And some of them were bad jobs, but sometimes I wasn't necessarily the best employee, although I'm a model employee now.
Of course.
But I had to grow and I had to understand, well, what are my expectations? What are my intentions when I enter these new situations? What do I want to learn?
Mhm.
All of those things until I kind of got that straight. Then again, wherever I was, wherever I went, there I was. And I
Mhm.
didn't have the outcomes that I was hoping for.
Absolutely. Oh, our audience is loving this. Donna Pink says, yes, yes, Donna Pink, your assignment is yours. Angela Matlock says, amen. Sabrina says, keep following me. There you are, who you are. Change can happen if we allow to grow and evolve. Sabrina Lee is feeling it. She says, we can all relate to the pit ball. So just start. So I love this. So just start looking at all the colorful balls. Admire the beautiful array of colors. That's cute. Yes, yes, yes. Patricia Wesley says a plane must be able to fly. That is why there is a baggage limit. Speak to it,
Okay.
Patricia Wesley. Yes, absolutely. So as we were, now, of course, as I was reading all that, I forgot about what I was about to say, to say next. But that whole piece of just, there's nothing like a job or a marriage or being a parent to take you through a curriculum that you never would have signed up for on your own. When we go to college, we get to choose our major. We get to say, I'm going to drop this class. But sometimes when you are in the job market, and particularly if you are in the job market as a single person, because there was a way that I talked as a single person when my income determined whether I was going to have housing versus when I was a married woman who had my husband's income. Okay, with his income, honey, my talk was a whole lot different. And now I might not say it like this, but I was thinking, you take this job and do with it what you want to do. Okay. Because I don't need you. Because, I wasn't going to be homeless if I quit the job. Right. But there is a way that you carry yourself. And so some of the discussions, may be from a place of privilege if you have a huge, huge bank account. But with employment and with children, many times we don't have the luxury of just walking away. Sometimes people with kids can't even drop them off at the grandparents. All my kids grandparents my child's grandparents are deceased. I can't drop her off when she get on my nerves. But let me pivot just a little bit, and talk about letting go, even from letting go of how we think sometimes that people are a bad reflection on us. And I'll give this from a letting go of my over parenting. Now, if you have grown up, particularly in the South, and certainly in a church, you have heard some of the senior church women talking about how good somebody looks while their children look like throwaways. I have heard that. And in fact, I may, if I'm being honest, have even chimed in. I don't remember it, but just because I know me, it's a possibility. And so, as a person of faith who's married to a person, doctor married to doctor, married to, clergy member, whatever, you have expectations that your children are going to present to the world in a certain way. On some occasions, you have children have perceptions that they're going to be a positive, glowing reflection of who you are, and they're going to make you look good. And even if they don't make you look good, they're not going to make you look bad. And that brings me to Exhibit A: parenting a person that you've tried to encourage to be independent, and when they flex their independence, you feel like it makes you look bad. Case in point, church on Sunday mornings. Honey, there is no fight in the Mattox household. 5 years ago, like it would be on a Sunday morning when my daughter wanted to wear her purple shoes with her pinstripe dress, with her cute triangular blah blah blah, and flex her creative juices. I mean it would just be all out because I was concerned about what folks at church were going to think about what my child had on while I was looking cute. And that, holding on to that, I had to let go of my concern about what the church women were going to think about my child Otherwise, I was gonna choke her to death because she had a strong personality. Now, not literally, family. For those of you who are mandated reporters, that's a figurative speech, I think. But but in any event, letting go of our expectations of our children or of the people that are significant to us and how they reflect on us is really important in preserving your sanity. Really, really important.
Because
And
at the
so,
end of the day, the question is, does it really matter
yeah,
what she wears to church?
yeah,
Does it matter? She's there
yeah.
with her parents. She's getting the message. And I'm sure your daughter would tell you that she looked cute too.
She
You weren't the
would.
only one that was cute. She was cute too.
In her
So
mind, honey, in her mind.
learning how to fight, pick the right battle to fight. There's no reason to pick that battle now. The disclaimer is I don't have children. So I have no earthly idea what I'm talking about.
Yes, you
But
do. That was
I
a
have
great point.
heard that we're going to pick our battles.
Yes. And I mean, and that is true because in the end, what I had to say is what message are you teaching her that you two will fight like cats and dogs before you go to church over what she wears? And so I had to think 30 years from now, I don't want her memories of what happens in this household to be what happens the morning before the morning of church, right? And to be about fights that we were having about cleaning the room. I just, sometimes you just got to shut the door and preserve your sanity. And so, but I say that and it's amazing I'm laughing now because those at least on two occasions it ended in weeping and gnashing of teeth, right? And I just thought, man, um I don't want that to be our memories. And so how do you realize, so part of it was what is safety, something you got to do for safety. Well, sometimes you just got to let them go on out there and let the world judge you. And they went, they went to the homeless part of their closet, look like they don't have a home. You look good, but it's all good. What I'm trying to say for those in the back is y'all, when y'all see her out in those streets looking like she's just straight homeless, I didn't do that. She got good clothes. She just won't wear them. Okay. All right. Carry on.
Dr. Maddox, speaking on behalf of your daughter, I want us to sort of reframe because what the pressure we put on women and girls to look a certain way and to be respectable, I'm not sure that that is the most important thing. We have lots of other battles to fight. So I'm just going to speak on behalf of your daughter.
That is an excellent point.
That I know she looks fantastic, and she knows when to dress appropriate depending upon the set of circumstances. You dress differently at church, from work, from home. I know she's got that lesson from you, and you're going to see it soon.
And the beautiful thing though is that the lesson that she has learned that it's not about appearance is one that I taught her. Okay.
Okay.
And so when she executes it, it doesn't always feel good. And and we're talking about that, but when you train them to use their voice and they start using it, that too can be uncomfortable. But you're doing the right thing. It just doesn't always show up pretty, and that's okay. And letting go of your image, make yourself of no reputation. Go ahead and forget about that image so that you can have the real thing of a good relationship with XYZ is the important thing, you know?
Yes. And in speaking of letting go and speaking of the church, especially Southern churches, I don't have any children either, but I have been a youth growing up in the church and I have worked with youth in the church. And unfortunately, a lot of times that is how we lose youth in the church because people are holding on to mindsets from years past and not realizing how much we are changing and the youth are changing. And so, whereas they are judging them, and for you, you're not just, it's the memory or how she views you as a mom, but that also affects how she views Christians, because if
Mm,
we are supposed to
mhm.
be open and loving to everyone, but we're concerned about XYZ, or not the fact that they are in church, but it's like, oh, they're here, but you got to find something else. But they're here. So let's start there and let's embrace them. And it's so sad, because I've talked to many people who refuse to step foot in a church anymore because of how they were judged. And a
Mhm,
lot, and sometimes even for things that,
mhm.
they were children, so things that they couldn't even control within themselves. But even as they got older and were more expressive, it was frowned upon by the people who were supposed to be welcoming and loving to them. And so
Yes,
in the church, I hope there's a lot of church people on here.
there
Some,
are. I can tell you there are.
we have to let go of those mindsets so that we can do what God charged us to do: bring people to Him, not push them away.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you said that, because I remember one time someone coming to me, and they were a guest at my church, and asking me to take my lipstick off. And I was only 16, and asking me to take my lipstick off. And then I'm 16, so I did it. And the lady told me I looked so much holier. And I thought, and I remember thinking to myself, but I'm not anymore. I remember someone telling me I needed to have a slip on, or whatever. And the thing about it is, when you don't have relationships with people, like, you really should be gentle, wise as a serpent, gentle as a dove. And there's some things that you don't need to address, and certainly not embarrassing people in public scenarios, and those kinds of things. And some things you just don't need to say at all. I remember being at Noah Jones's church, and he's in California, and he said something that was really profound to me. He said, "What you were looking at as someone's, you know, just having it all hang out there, may be someone's most conservative outfit if they're a stripper and they are in the house." You know what I'm saying? And so you never know where people are coming from, and you don't want to. I don't want to be the person that they remember saying this. And so I'm very aware that sometimes when we make mistakes, that you need to apologize. And so, when I apologize to my daughter, that is something I never heard from my mother. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so her best attempt at an apology was my favorite cake or some meatloaf, my favorite dish. But those words never came out of her mouth. And so when we are letting go, and letting go of our image, sometimes in the process, we've made some mistakes. Woman up, man up, whatever up, and own that and apologize when you've done that. Because sometimes when we're saying, I'm going to let it go in the heat of the moment, we mad because you holding me accountable. Now, I'm talking about me. Accountability does not feel good, right? Now, it produces some wonderful results, but in the moment, it doesn't feel good. It can feel like an attack on who you are. And so it is um, it is such a wise flex to, when someone is challenging you about something that you don't like an ounce, to, say, that's an interesting point. Give me some time to think about that, rather than click on them and clown and then go back later on and discover, you know what, they were right. Then that's a whole different level of apology, right? Donna Pink says, "Speak, Dr. C." No, I'm sorry. Speak, Doctor, speak. The youth of today feel like some church people are the worst critics. Shame, shame. Shani Flower says the church should be a hospital for brokenhearted, the sick, the motherless, the fatherless. When we cast judgment, we push those souls away. Um, Sabrina Lee says, "How dare we judge?" Shani Flower says, "Times aren't the same." No, they're not. This takes us back to a mindset. And some things, you meet the children where they are. Sometimes you have to let them go, but as long as you have the understanding. And so um, it's a good practice, is even when you are feeling like, sometimes accountability feels like disrespect, and it's really accountability. And sometimes it can be, you're not even challenging what they said. You just don't like the way they said it. Whether you like the way they said it or you like what they're saying, make it a practice when the nuances are right, to just pause and sit with it and say, thank you for those observations. I'll give it consideration, and not have that conversation right there in the heat of the moment, because you might let go of some words that you can't take back and pack up. Jump in. I may have talked about this a little bit, a little bit more. Jump in on any of the comments of the audience. And audience, I encourage you to share this for later with those who watch in, listen in, and follow your page, because this is some good stuff. Now, I won't say it's finger looking good. Sometimes it feels like a little castor oil over here. This might not feel like fudge brownie service. It might feel like castor oil, and yet it is needed. You all have anything you want to jump in and add?
You talked about early on about how we're going to plan and then pursue. I'm not getting all the P's together, but if we're pursuing open lines of communication and a healthy relationship, then that definitely takes time to kind of sit back and like, okay, they said this to me, that didn't feel good. But if you have a moment, like you're saying, Dr. Rhonda, to just kind of, well, let me sort of assess where I am and how do I think that that applies to me. And then you can go back because you've maintained the lines of communication, because the relationship is the most important thing. Now, sometimes people say crazy stuff, and you're like, that has absolutely nothing to do with me. That's all their stuff, their shame, their fear, their jealousy. And
Mhm.
those things you can let go. And sometimes those are the people that you decide, maybe I need to let go of them because we are no longer vibrating on the same plane. And we've learned all the lessons that we need to together. So we're going to pursue different avenues and different paths.
Mhm. Oh, that's good. That's really good. Um, it's interesting as you were saying that. I'm going to share with you a real life example. I had someone who thought they were calling me and did not call me, and so I got an ugly email saying this. They felt disrespected by me for not acknowledging their call. Da 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 da, and and I just responded. I didn't receive an email, whatever I did, but I gave it a couple of days, and I sent this text. Hey, lady, I don't like how our last encounter went. I value our earlier connection and don't want that aftertaste lingering. Can we talk soon? And if so, when is a good time to connect? But I knew that I had not done what this lady accused me of doing. But the fact that I didn't like how she did it, I felt a certain way, but I didn't respond in real time. Just, hey, I don't have a missed call from you, and I don't have a message. And then later circling back, and when we talked, it was a beautiful conversation. But had I not made it a point to not immediately respond while I was in the thick of Christmas and all of this stuff, that encounter could have gone completely different, right? And so understand that there's some relationships that will feel a certain way. Iron sharpens iron, and sometimes there's friction. But if you understand that there is value in certain relationships and you want to maintain them, please, please, please do not let a little thing like confusion over one encounter end the relationship. You may need to pause. You may need to take some time away to gather your thoughts, and then identify, is this the person who's going to be in my inner circle or outer circle? But there's some relate, and let me add, and this woman gave me $1 million ideas on the phone after we talked during that particular session. If I had just written her off, and this woman saved me some time because she's full of wisdom, 70 plus years of wisdom. If I had just written that off, I would have lost out, because the ideas she gave me are about to make me some money. I'll be back to tell you about it. But, you know, that was an aside, certainly not a part of my notes, but perhaps it will be a benefit to you. Dr. Jones, jump in. if you like.
Sure. I was just sitting here actually thinking about an analogy that I had saw floating around before, and it was about letting go. And there was a picture with it that showed someone holding on to a rope. And how, as they held and continued to hold for so long, their hands, of course, got the burns and blisters and bleeding because they were trying to hold on to something, even though it was hurting them. And of course, the lesson was, had they just let go sooner, or, even from the beginning, how things can be. And it just shows how sometimes when we do, we just hold on to things that continue to hurt us, even though we feel the pain, but we just keep holding on. And Fantasia, she has this song that's probably now my favorite song of hers, that says sometimes we have to lose to win again. And I think that goes with letting go. Now, she talks about things that she lost that was not intentional, but she did. And now, she's in, like, starring in one of the top grossing movies of all time. But sometimes we do, to get to where we want to be, where we're meant to be, we have to let go of where we are, and that's letting go of mindsets, sometimes relationships, fears, whether that's of success, failure, whatever it is. We have to be willing to try, because let me tell you, when you let go of whatever it has been, when you get that taste of the freedom that you feel from it, it makes it a little easier on down the road to keep letting go of things.
Yes.
You like where you all, we've talked about still being still and sitting with it for a while. And Dr. Morris also talked about writing it down, because I think sometimes that does help when you put it out there and you see it, but get to that freedom and get to the things that, you want for your life.
Yes. Oh, I want to say this was finger licking good. It was a combination of finger licking good and casserole at times. And
We need them
whatever,
both.
I want to say but I mean, when I thought, when you think about the execution of it, the execution of it sounds like casserole. Saying it sounds good. A friend of mine said, I say all the time, um, let go of the image of your image. That for me, one of my secrets to my happiness is that I don't maintain this need to have the image of what a traditional doctor would be. And that has been very liberating for me and freeing, for me, not to have to rise or sink sometimes to the expectation of what a doctor is. And that's been probably one of the most important pieces for me, to just feel so happy and so liberated in the midst of a profession where people have to feel like they have to present a certain way. But letting go of that image is easy to say and sometimes hard to do. So as we are deciding what to let go of, when you let go of the image of perfection, it really does serve you well, because it allows you to be your authentic self. It allows you the messy opportunity to learn from your mistakes and to learn from others. It allows you to let your child go to church in camouflage with polka dots and pinstripes, and sit there and praise the Lord in the beauty of holiness. Um, it allows you to take risk on what you're going to do. And sometimes it allows you to either let relationships go that look picture perfect but are miserable on the inside, or to stay with people who may look like they're a hot mess, but they make you, but it's purpose driven, and they make you feel better and they add value to you. So those kinds of things. Now, family, oh, we are wrapping up. Please take this opportunity to drop loves, likes, shares in the chat. And we are transitioning to a different way of me doing things. I will not be with you every Taboo Thursday now. I am a first and third Thursday kind of girl these days, because I'm having to let go of some of the responsibilities of doing this weekly so that I can make room for additional opportunities. Go ahead and put me on your calendar first and third Thursdays. These ladies will drop their links and their books and their different things in the chat in just a few minutes. Like them, follow them, and I'll see you again on the third Thursday. Bye bye.